Thank you, Commissioner, for your time today. And I know it's been addressed a little bit. I know Mr. Molinar brought it up, and I'm sure a few others have brought it up as well. But on the baby formula issue, I need to go in a little more on that. In your testimony, you make the claim that our food supply is the safest it has ever been. While this has been the case historically, the American public is still struggling to fully be convinced. Just this last February, Formula Giant Reckitt recalled about 145,000 cans, plant-based infant formula over the possible cross-contamination with the same deadly pathogen that sparked the 2022 formula crisis. This recall came months after initial failed tests in September when the batch was destroyed, but has later been determined by the agency to not have been properly contained. Consequently, 2 later batches of the formula hit the store shelves and were ultimately recalled on February 20th of this year. Obviously, there's no single entity to blame for the recent failure to maintain a stable national supply of infant formula, but I'm curious. Have you or any one of your staff who directly reports to you ever personally visited one of these manufacturers, been to their facilities where these outbreaks have happened?
A number of our people have been. I've been on the phone with all the executives of every company, sometimes once a week during the peak of the crisis, but we're well aware of the conditions in these factories.
So when we have an issue at home, and sometimes I can't be there myself, like right now we've got this flooding issue in California. I've got my guys out there. I'm talking to my guys directly from my office, the people who report directly to me. So when you say your guys, I know you've got a big department under you. How far down the food chain are these people who are actually going to those facilities?
What's happened is we have now a weekly call, but it used to be a daily call, including weekends, that had the leadership and then the next level down, which is the very next level that deals with infant formula, very much hands-on, including talking with people who are in the facilities. And remember that in the case of Abbott, we have a consent decree, so by law, we're co-managing that effort. So essentially during the peak of this, we were there every single day. So I think the communication is very tight, day to day, week to week. It's a little more week to week now because, as you know, the percent in stock is now what it was before the recall. We still have some distribution problems, particularly to rural areas, that we're concerned about.
But you yourself haven't had the opportunity to be at one of these facilities or someone that reports directly to you personally?
Oh, people that report directly to me, yes, have been in those facilities. But, you know, I was advised, particularly in the case of Sturgis, not to go for a variety of reasons. And
what type of advice would that be?
We don't want to, when a place is in crisis and working on fixing it, you don't want to disturb the facility by having people distracted from their day-to-day work. We had people there, and the advice I had was to let them do their work.
All right. FDA just recently received a net increase of $226 million in the 2023 omnibus. Can you please explain how the requested $64 million increase on top of that $226 million to modernize oversight of the infant formula would be worthwhile investment for the American taxpayer in wake of the continued recalls?
All right. Well, if you look back at last year, we had, in terms of evaluating infant formula, people applying to put infant formula on the market, it was a total of 13 or 14 people. We had a variety of the inspectorate and also many other people that were brought in who were assigned to other areas, but were brought in because of the crisis and worked on the issue. What we envision for the future is a dedicated inspectorate of about 10 people, a leader for that inspectorate, and then a number of people who are dealing with the applications as they come in a much more rapid fashion. We've already heard today that people would like us to evaluate applications more speedily. It's not a trivial matter because there are over 30 constituents of any batch of formula that have to be there in the right amount. We've had people that have applied that couldn't cut it, who have had to be turned down because they were not up to the grade that's needed for successful infant formula. So I think this would be a big payoff. We have millions of infants who are dependent on this formula.
And I know I'm running a little bit tight on time, but the number is $60-some million increase on top of the 226. And when you talked about teams, we were talking in the tens of numbers.
I don't think the 60 million is for infant formula, increases for infant formula
overall.
alone, so we'll get back to you on that. I think you'll find it's very tightly accounted for, but if we have misinformation about that, I definitely want to get it straightened out.
All right, well, I appreciate the time and you'll back.